Welcome. You are listening to I Have Questions with Michael Ruland.
Have you ever asked a question, been in a classroom, been curious, or ever wanted to teach and learn? Then you're in the right place. Because I have questions. I am very passionate about being curious, about being educated, and most importantly, about having questions. Join me on this journey as I share stories, talk to some fun and inspiring people, gain insights to being a better teacher, better student, and maybe even a better human. I am very passionate about being curious, about being educated, and most importantly, about having questions. I hope you're ready because
I have questions. Welcome, welcome. Another day in the life, huh? I appreciate you joining me on I Have Questions with Michael Ruland. That is so awesome of you to still come back. I hope it's at least using up a little bit of your time. I really would be cool if it's giving you something to think about or question or investigate further. I think that's really what this is about. So I hope you're doing great, at least well. Um, keep working at it, keep going, and don't stop. That's really what it's about, isn't it? So with that, I think we should, you know, get going. Today, I am going to talk to a guy that it has been a long time. In fact, it was probably high school the last time we actually really connected. Um, he was a schoolmate of mine back in the big burg of Max, North Dakota. His dad was a teacher. He's been a teacher forever and a day. He probably won't like me saying that, but it's been a minute, a long minute he's been teaching, and he's just the most even keeled, um, always has been from the time I knew him when he was a third grader, even keeled all the way through. And so he and I are going to talk today about, you know, experiences and how those can shape your learning. So I say we get going, huh? How's that sound? Because I have questions. So, so as I think about my journey in learning and teaching and curiosity and questioning, I think of this little saying I've picked up and heard, and I'm sure I'm going to get it wrong here. And I wish I could know who to attribute it to, but I can't. So know that it's not mine. I have no original ideas. I'm not that good. I wish I was, so that'd be kind of cool, huh? Have original ideas. Anyway, um, it's a little saying about conquering and exploring. And if you really think about the depth of it, it's really profound. And it says to conquer something is to have more, but to explore something is to learn more. And I think those explorations and experiences along the way are key. We can all sit down and read a book, but almost all of us are hands on. And, I think about that with me. I've not hidden the fact I was not a good student. Um, I was not a good learner. I wasn't really good at anything for a long time. Still might not be, but that's, we won't get into that. Anyway, I think back to my years in school, and there's only a couple moments that really stand out for me in my learning. And both of those, two of those have to do with experiencing something hands-on. I was a very hands-on visual learner. And I think as someone with pretty crazy ADHD, and dyslexia thrown in there just for good measure, I visualize everything. When I read a book, I'm not really reading it, I'm visualizing it. So, like, every word really creates the picture of what's going on. And so I think probably growing up, that's why reading was hard, because it is hard, right? I mean, it's a lot of energy that I use to read because I am visualizing basically every word. But that visualization, I think, comes in super important. And I'm pretty sure it was in 6th grade because my 6th grade teacher, Mr. Stoltz, was amazing. Everybody loved him. In fact, our class asked him to be our graduation speaker. That's how much all of us adored him. One of the projects, and literally one of the only things I remember from 6th grade, was building a telegraph machine, like a legit telegraph machine. A partner of mine and I built the whole system, and we knocked it out between the two of us, and did it in school, and it worked. Like, wow. It, it, I remember it vividly. And, and the other experience in school that I remember was actually in science. One of my least favorite subjects, honestly. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I wasn't into chemistry and balancing balancing chemicals in the periodic table and all that. I don't know why. But and I don't know when this was. It was sometime between 7th grade and 12th grade. Um, our teacher, we were talking about the solar system, and gave each of us a roll of receipt paper, tape, paper, whatever it's called, just a roll of paper, like, I don't know what it was, 2 inches wide, maybe. And we were tasked with creating a scale model of the solar system. And we had to figure out, like, how big we were going to make the sun on this tape. Obviously, you would just have little tiny shred of it, but if we decided one end of the sun to the other was going to be a foot, then from there we proportioned out the rest of the planets in the solar system. And, basically these tapes rolled all the way down the hallway of the high school wing, and probably even further, to be frank. And it was just, those things were hands on. And obviously, I'm almost 60, and I still remember those vividly, when I don't remember much of anything else that we learned. So I know, for me, experiencing lessons and experiencing things and visualizing them are how to learn. They're how I learn. I believe, quite frankly, it's how everybody learns in one way or the other. Some people are stronger one way or the other, but I think experiencing something and having those experiences and exploring where we learn more instead of getting more is vital to what we do. So I'm excited to talk to our guest. I'm excited to pursue this a little further. And quite frankly, as we're doing this, why don't you take a moment and think about an experience you've had and how it sticks with you. And, you know, let's move forward, shall we? So, with no more rambling and stambling and stumbling and blumbling, let's go, shall we? All right, let's go talk to somebody. All right. As I promised, we have a guest. Well, we always have a guest because you don't want to listen to me all the time. My guest today has been teaching at the same high school for 36 years. Yikes. I have, 36. He was hired at Mandan High School, home of the Braves in Mandan, North Dakota, right after finishing school at Mary College in Bismarck, North Dakota. I happen to know Mary College well. It's where my bride and I decided to meet and where I was a horrible student, but I still happen to love that place. He happened to do the same major that I was trying to do, math and science composite, because at the time, Mary College was pretty small and they had to mash stuff together. So, because of that, he teaches algebra and science, basically anything algebra and anything science. He also has been a driver's ed teacher. He's coached Mandan High School's girls hockey teams, and he's been their baseball coach for 20 years. His dad was one of my favorite teachers in high school. My guess is that his dad was probably everybody's favorite teacher in high school. I'm so happy to have a chance to reconnect with Mr. DeWitt Mack. DeWitt, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, my friend. So, are you ready?
I'm set.
He said, I'm ready. Good, because I have questions. So, DeWitt, I've been talking about some of my experiences in life and how they've had some really direct impacts on how I think and learn, and then thusly on how I educated students. I'm wondering with that in mind about experiences, you know, what is one or two of your most memorable experiences? And, what did you learn from them? Do you have any that stick out to you?
I think back to when I was in high school. The method of education at the time was teacher lectured, you did a few problems, and then you took a test on it. And we didn't do a lot of hands-on learning. We didn't have a lot of labs because of the size of the school and the budget constraints and things like that. What I've tried to do with my kids when I teach is I try to give them those experiences. We'll talk about it in class, and then we go back into lab and do it. And they can see what's happening rather than just be told what's happening. And to me, that's a huge benefit to the kids, and to actually link the subject matter together. I also was in graduate school down to NDSU, and I was part of an inquiry learning program down there. And so it kind of brought everything together again in terms of, inquiry learning is a great tool to add to your toolbox to get the kids to link the subject matter to what they're learning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that bravo, spot on, right? I mean, we all survived, obviously. You and I survived the same classes. When part of what I talked about before you got on was one of the few things I remember, because I was not a good student. Some of the few things that I remember in school were hands-on labs that we did do. And, those have stuck with me through my life. So, like you, I really tried to make things very much about experiences, right? So, I guess I'm just going to ask: is that in your 36 years doing that, has Mandan Public been a place where most of the teachers you work with have taken that angle, or is it still a mix of types of teaching?
Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of educating students here at Mandan High, and most of the teachers make it applicable. There's
Mhm.
something that can apply to them. We had professional development yesterday, and one of the teachers was talking about the fact that he uses AI to generate little learning modules they have in history class. And so he said one of the things he does is he appoints them. They're a general in the Civil War, and They have to tell what they would do in certain situations. Would they attack? Would they retreat? What's the benefit? What's the drawback? And he does little simulations like that all the time. So he makes the learning very applicable.
That's awesome. So I like that. As you were talking about that, I remember back to a class I took at, is it Bismarck State College now? Okay. When we were in school, it was Bismarck Junior College. I had a history class there, and we played Risk for, I think, half of the semester. And so, I feel like AI would make it a little more fun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, but it was a thing, I guess. So it was an experience at that time. Um, I guess thinking about experiences, right? You're having kids experience something in the classroom, but I also wonder, as I introduced you, you've been teaching for 36 years. You've been coaching and you're involved in the community and doing all these things. In essence, personal experiences. How have those outside roles influenced how you develop experiences in the classroom, or have they?
I think it all ties together. Even though I'm a coach, I view myself more as a teacher on the baseball field or a
Mhm.
teacher in the hockey rink. I'm teaching the game. I'm teaching the passion. I'm teaching the work ethic, and I carry that over into the classroom because not only am I teaching the subject matter, but I'm also coaching the kids up. We're working on, when we make a mistake, not a big deal. Let's fix it and go on. Or when you do something well, you're struggling and all of a sudden it happens for you. I mean, that's a coachable moment in the classroom. And
Yeah.
so to coach those kids up and to build their confidence as they, have those experiences is huge because it builds their confidence, it builds their self-esteem. It tells them they can succeed, not always in the first time, but eventually, yeah, they will succeed. So
Yeah. Awesome. That's excuse me. Sorry. So I guess I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about this and my listeners, all three of them, um, wouldn't know this or all of them, but your dad was a teacher and he did something in he was a social studies teacher, so everybody knows, and he did something that to this day I still love, and I actually tried to emulate it in my own goofy way in a math room, but he did Newsweek's focus quizzes, right? Every week.
yep.
You're nodding. You were there, right? And I think, back then that was uh amazing experiences, right? I mean, it connected that week's news to our lives, and then he turned it into, a game, basically, right?
Mhm.
And we did every week. So, I guess the reason for that long, rambly story is, number 1, tell your dad I loved Focus. Number 2, I mean, literally, uh, I'm digressing again on you, sorry. Um, it might have been the only reason I read anything, to be honest.
Well, I think that what you're saying is point on because as a teenager, how much do you really watch the news, care about the news?
Mhm.
And when you get to, have a little game and you get to play a game against your classmates and um, then the news kind of becomes important and then you start, living that.
Yeah, start paying attention to it, right? Yeah. And so, I guess that has made as I've been thinking about talking to you about this, I'm like, what your dad did in the classroom, and you got to experience it, did that how much I mean, I'm not gonna say did it because I'm assuming the answer is gonna be yes, but how much did the way he taught affect how you teach now?
Oh,
Or
I think
did it? I don't know.
I think there's some similarities. I'm I'm pretty old school in terms of this is my classroom. This is, how things are going to work. And so we respect each other and we have order and make, like that. And he was a lot along the same line. Different subject matter, social
Yeah.
studies compared to science, but we have a lot of the same personalities. I tend to be more of a jokester, have fun, laugh about it, where he was a little bit more serious about that. But yeah, there's sure a lot of carryover between the two of us.
Okay. So yeah, I was just yeah listening to you talk about making those experiences. I mean, I think for me, he was probably twice as many experiences in the classroom as any other teacher, and maybe that's because I liked him and liked social studies too. Who knows, right? So I guess this question is a tough one. I'm trying to figure out how to ask, but the question is when you set up these labs for the kids, right? Do you have kids who are like all hands on and oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever? And then kids who still would rather just sit down and read a book and learn that way? And if you do, how do you navigate those different learning styles?
Um, yeah, I mean, you're always going to have the extremes. One of the things I try and do is I try and develop a relationship with every kid, and so that I know what to kind of expect. And so when we do a lab, they they're partnered with different people all the time, so they're not always working with the same person. And those that struggle a little bit, I'll be over there and kind of coaching them up and working with them. Once you kind of build that relationship with them, they students don't want to disappoint you,
Yeah.
and so it helps to have that relationship to fall back on, and in terms of, hey, I need you to do this now so we can, move on. And they they tend to follow along pretty well. I have great kids in my class. I don't have any problems with the kids that I have, so it's a lot of fun, and we get to do a lot of fun things in class.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. So I'm going to ask because I don't know if people remember you were on my little Thanksgiving thing for 2 seconds. Um, and so I'm just going to ask, I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you come to any decisions about your future?
Uh, yes, I have. I'm going to be teaching again next year.
Okay.
After that, it's a year by year process.
Awesome.
My wife and I are kind of discussing it, and again, health insurance is a big issue for
Yeah.
us. So making sure that we, can financially manage our elderly days. So
Yes. Right. Yes, it's a thing. So I didn't mean to put you on well, I did mean to put you on the spot. Obviously, I asked the question, right?
yeah, not a problem.
But I had to know. I was curious. So good. Well, I think in following you in the last, I don't even know, 10 years or so that we reconnected, I think Mandan High School is better off with you there. I've enjoyed your following you from afar, creeping up on you, I guess.
Well, thank you.
So I think they're lucky. I don't know if you are, but they are.
I
So
am. I
awesome. So at this point, we take a little left turn and I just call it curious questions. They're one word answers to it or short answer. And they're just meant to be something a little different. All this serious questioning stuff is hard on me. So, so you ready for them? There's 5 of them.
I'm
Here
ready.
we go. All right. Your favorite holiday?
Probably Thanksgiving.
How about a place you absolutely need to visit in the next 10 years?
Huh. place I absolutely need to visit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I have a need. I would like to go to Washington D.C. again with my wife and kids.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great answer.
yeah,
Where
that
let's see. No, I was a sophomore, so you wouldn't have been on that trip. Back in the day, we did that every other year trip to DC.
yep.
And so,
I went as a senior.
yeah, so your class would have been, yeah, we went as sophomores. So never mind. That was amazing. I love that trip. And
Well,
then a few years ago, Sarah and I went on a trip from New York City to Washington D.C. and then we met our daughter in Pittsburgh to help her move.
okay.
And DC as yeah, I I think that works for me. All right, this one, let's see your face crinkle up on this one then. A time period in history or the future of the universe that you would love to visit for one day.
Hmm.
We'll see if you're a science teacher or a history nut on this one.
I would probably go back in time and spend it at a family reunion with my relatives and all my cousins and grandparents and
Yeah.
parents and aunts and uncles.
I haven't had that one yet. I like that one. Good one. All right. These two are easier. Favorite book you've ever read?
Um, I I read Cal Ripken's book. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I really like that book.
Yeah. Um, I can't think of it either. I've read that one too.
Maybe is it called The Ripken Way?
I was going to look it up just now, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He counts. That's a good one. All right, last one. One food that makes you think of growing up at home.
Um, a roast with potatoes and corn and homemade bread. Mom would make that pretty much every Sunday.
Perfect. Oh, homemade bread.
Mm-hmm.
First time I ever took Sarah home to meet my parents, my mom made her make bread. And as you know, there was 11 of us and mom and dad. And so making bread at our house was more of a factory mission than.
Yep.
And I came in and I saw Sarah, my girlfriend, elbow deep into bread. And I was just mortified. I'm like, oh God, I just lost a girlfriend. Whew. But she stuck with me. So we survived.
Yep.
That's funny. That's awesome. All right. Your turn. So the show is yours. Have I missed something? Is there something you would like to add? Or do you have a question for me?
I don't think so. The only thing is, we kind of lost touch, from high school to adulthood. I would really, I would like to get a snapshot of what your classroom looked like.
Think of the most ADHD room you've ever seen in your life and then add to it. No, I was a little bit all over the board when I taught. So I really didn't mind people getting up and moving and doing things, but I was also pretty stern taskmaster.
Mm-hmm.
I I like to pretend the reason for that was because my first few years of teaching, I taught a lot of pre-algebra and pre so I had kids who were not fans of math.
Yeah.
And some kind of a rough crowd. And quite frankly, most of those rough crowd kids I'm still keep in touch with.
Oh yeah.
Like
Well,
20 years later, right?
it's that relationship building.
Yep. And so So the desks were always being moved. They would come in and not know how the setup of the room would be from one day to the next. Um, I instituted art into math. We did a math and art projects. I had the art teacher actually bring her kids in a couple of years and teach teach art to the kids so that they would make better projects. Um, we did hand puppet shows, and all of this is algebra 2,
Mhm.
that type of stuff. We made movies. I spent my classroom money 1 year on video cameras and sending kids all over the place to make movies.
It
We went
having
outside. So kinda like you're talking, it for me, it was 100% experience.
Yeah, having experiences.
Yeah, we went out to the football field and took our steps and paced our steps, and then I had the kids figure out how far. So our school's district is 2 towns, and they're about 12 miles apart, and I had kids have to figure out how far their steps made it, and then figure out personally how many steps it would take them to go to the middle school from the high school, things like that. And, we would go out and find a tree and literally measure the shadow and figure out the height of the tree. I mean, hands on. So,
And
um,
those are
yeah,
the things those are the things the kids are gonna remember
yeah,
about school long after they forgot the content of what was going on, you
yep,
know?
exactly.
Whether they can solve for X or not, who cares?
Yeah.
But the experiences they had and the things they did, you know, those are huge for kids.
Yeah, exactly, and so I did all that, and I brought in speakers. I brought in the president of the Seattle Iron Workers Union. To this day, I don't remember how the heck he and I connected. I mean, this guy was up there, and somehow we connected. Uh, um, uh, I 1 year took kids to the glass blowing is popular, and 1 year I took them to, like, 3 different factories in one day, a big group of kids to see glass blowing and how that worked in math and stuff. So, yeah, I was a little out there, but, um but yeah, I taught it the way I wanted to learn it, I think,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So yeah, I do miss it. I went to the dark side, administration,
Yeah.
and I actually really, really loved being an administrator. I really did. Uh, I to this day wished I would have stayed teaching. It really was. I really loved it. But I don't know if I say that because when I was an administrator, I really learned how to teach better as an administrator, right? Because I got to see everybody teach and really dig into it. And
And that's the sad thing is we're kind of islands as
yeah,
teachers. And,
totally.
just having the professional development yesterday and visiting with these history teachers about what they're doing, I'm like, wow, they're doing some great stuff. And I wish I could, grab some of that information and use it as my own.
Yeah, years and years ago, our school and I got to be a leader, one of, I don't even know, 3 or 4 teacher leaders, but we we made up, deals with some local schools around us, and we would take 5 teachers on learning walks, but we would go and spend the day in another school and go watch 4 separate teachers teach, and then go back and talk about them for 30 minutes or so. And that's kinda, I think, what started my idea of being an administrator was what my principal set me up for it, to be honest, but, um, because, like you said, seeing other subject matters and other teachers do their thing just made you go, "Oh, why didn't I think of that?" You know?
Yeah.
And as an administrator, I made sure that new teachers got to see other teachers because it's you do learn so much. So, yeah. So, yeah, I was all over the board. Just so you know, I mean, if any of my old kids are listening now, they would be like, "Yeah, he was everywhere." But, kept us all out of trouble. So, yeah. So, one last thing, the very last thing, your exit ticket leaving your classroom. Can you give one piece of advice to a new teacher?
Um, Probably not just one, but one of the pieces of advice that's kind of stuck with me throughout the years. My cooperating teacher told me from day one, you need to start saving for retirement. And it's tough because when you first start teaching, you have all these bills and all these loans, and you're paid little or nothing. But start saving for retirement from day one because you pretty soon you're teaching 36 years and you'll be like, oh, now what?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah. My hair's a different color and I have to make some decisions,
yep, yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
So that's one piece that's kind of stuck with me. The other is just have fun. You know, have fun with the kids, develop those relationships, have fun with the subject matter, be creative, and the kids appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a stick in the mud, the kids notice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
exactly. So awesome. I love that. That's solid advice that new teachers should hear every day. Actually, they
yeah.
get so wrapped up in what they do. So, DeWitt, I appreciate you so much for joining me on my little journey here that, my family told me I had to do something after I got sick. And so this was it. So I appreciate you and your knowledge. And, you know, I'm so glad technology gave us the chance to meet back up after all these years.
Well, I'm glad we had a chance to reconnect.
Yeah.
It's good. The ironic thing about it is it seems like we haven't been apart for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
You know,
It's kind
pick
of,
things up and go.
yeah, to me, it says a lot about how our school was and how we were, you know, we were, so everybody knows we were grade apart. Um, DeWitt was the year below me, but at Max Public High School, it was so small. I don't know that we all really got too caught up in grades, especially the grade above you and the grade below you.
No,
I
you
think,
typically hung out with those kids that were even 2 and 3 years older, or 2 and 3 years
yeah,
younger.
yeah, and basketball and golf and baseball kept us all together too. So,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Your dad was my golf. Well, your dad was everybody's golf coach. I'll never forget one day at Underwood, he was standing. I come around the turn, get to the first tee, and I hit a drive. And classic non-athletic me, it God knows where it went. And your dad was there. And, I had to have been a senior because he was pretty comfortable. And he just goes, "What in the hell was that?" I'll never forget, just out loud, in front of everybody. And I'm like, you know me, and just trudged off down Underwood's first fairway. Uh, I'm like, that's why I like you. You tell me I suck without telling me I suck. So, all right, my friend, I appreciate you very much. Stay warm. For those of you who don't know, it is going to get downright chilly where DeWitt is right now. So stay warm, my friend, and thank you.
Thank you.
Again, awesome. Thank you, DeWitt. I appreciate the talk. It was and is so awesome catching up with you. Been way too long. The advancement in social media and technology, I think has definitely made catching back up with old friends and people you knew so much easier. Obviously, we all know that. So, again, thank you to it. Um, as we move forward, again, as always, I feel like you know this already, but repetition is key. So, if you have anything for me, you can reach out. I have questions 2025 at gmail.com. Let me know. As always, if you're listening to this, hit subscribe on YouTube or like on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Pass me on to friends. That would be awesome. Let's see if I can grow this thing a little bit. We'll see. We'll find out. Anyway, haven't done this one for a while. I thought I'd give everybody a break from my doldrums of sickness. A little long COVID update for all of us. So, yep, still have it, still doing it. I think the new, well, it's not really new, but the idea of being sick from long COVID, I think what's happened for me is COVID made me sick, and then long COVID has brought out some other issues that probably were there but not very prevalent. I have dysautonomia, which is when my autonomic system, which runs, your heart and kidneys and lungs and breathing, all those things you don't think about, has been affected by this. And one of the big things was my small fiber nerve endings. Your nerves are like a tree branch or a tree roots, where there's the trunk and then the roots, and then there's the little feelers that go out. Those little feelers, they got damaged, and those are the ones that help regulate blood flow and blood pressure. So I struggle with that, taking lots of medications. S Yeah, basically everything's the same. How's that? Nothing new, though I was alerted to a few new studies coming out by one of my doctors, and they're generally excited about it, but one study, which I haven't read yet, but I've started looking up or started reading, is they're starting to think Adderall, the ADHD medication, can have some effects on your body after long COVID. So, two birds with one stone, maybe, huh? We'll see. Although I've been down the Adderall train and it helped. I don't know how much it helped, but it helped at the time. So yeah, nothing's changed. Still don't feel things. The fingers are a little iffy, the feet, the legs, but yeah, minor details, huh? All right. So, on that note, I sure hope all of you have a really good week. I hope you're kind to yourself and to others. I hope you question things. I hope you get curious about something and dig into it, you know? Just see what there is to see and go for that, huh? All right. On that note, have a great week, huh? Oh, hey, P.S. P.S. I'll make this one a really quick one. I mentioned earlier that one of the experiences that I remember in school was building a telegraph machine with a friend of mine, um, a classmate, and learning a little Morse code and doing the thing. And so I was reading a book Brian got me for Christmas, and it was about Stonehenge. And one of the parts in there, an interesting part, was communicating with your family and tribe. And during this one chapter or whatever it was, scene, a tribe had to get a message to another tribe. And of course, this was thousands of years ago. And the way they did it then is they picked their fastest runner and gave him the message and told him to go. It just kind of made me interested in learning the history of messaging, long distance, right? And we can go back. Scientists have gone back and figured out a lot of how messaging worked. You know, the Great China Wall, they had those towers. The towers that were put every so often were actually about sending communications. They would build fires and use smoke, right? And one of the kind of more interesting things that I read about, and there's still actually a few of them there, is in France. They use this thing called a semaphore, SEMAPHORE. I think it's PH and not F. Semaphore. Anyway, it's just a method of signaling, but they built this thing on top of a tower and it kind of looks like a robot. And they would put them every 5 or 10 miles apart. And you had to learn what these messages meant by how these arms on this tower, there were two arms, and they could move them in a bunch of different ways, like 14 or 15 ways. And each angle gave you a word or a message. And so they could signal all the way through France with this little robot tower, and everybody had to know. And of course, we all know, maybe we don't, but ships used flags, different positions of flags, and that was actually the exact reason that this semaphore system was used. And so I don't know, it's just amazing to me to follow the history of communication. I read recently in an article that communication is really what set us apart as humans, and what really brought us forward in life is the ability to communicate what we need and what we're doing and our history. It's kind of amazing, actually, the intense outlook of communication. So anyway, with that being said, maybe go learn some Morse code. We don't use it anymore, but it might be fun. You if you give it a hostage situation, you can blink your eyelids in Morse code. That was the last thing I read about, was how that actually happened in Vietnam War. So on that note, thank you for communicating with me. That was a rough one, but it's so much. I didn't know where to pinpoint my um focus on. So with that note, I'll Morse code you tick, 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 tick. Something like that, I think says bye. Peace, love, R. This has been a production of SMEB LC Enterprises. Please give us a thumbs up, share us with others, and come back next week for another leg of our journey. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time and energy with us today. This is also a great time to reach out to someone in your life and just ask them, how are you doing? Don't wait until next week. And remember, it is always powerful to say, I have questions.